Welcome back to the Pudding Pal podcast, where the proof is in the pudding. This week, the Pudding Wives are spilling the tea and maybe some lube, and everything from crazy sexcapades to the don't touch me phases.
Yeah, we're talking the struggles of initiation, the bedroom boredom, the toys that, I mean, for you probably collecting dust.
Lots of dust. Lots of dust.
But nothing's gonna be awkward. It can't be. And we're just gotta be honest. Let's go for it.
But before we get into it, like, are you guys not exhausted from celebrating Steph's 40th in
Happy
Vegas?
birthday, Steph!
Happy birthday.
Yeah, that was so fun.
It was fun. It was wild. It was crazy, but definitely feeling 40.
Oh.
For sure. Into your 40s.
Welcome.
You can still party like you used to, but the re-entry is a little harder than it might have
You're
been
feeling it this
before.
week, huh?
Re-entry's tough, but worth it.
Okay.
You ready to go back?
Ready to go back. I'll go back next weekend. Let's go tomorrow.
Wait, what haven't you told us?
Let's actually go tomorrow.
So when we got home, I was going to Pilates the next morning, and I opened up my drawer to get my workout clothes, and I found this brand new pair of brown yoga pants in my drawer.
Not yours.
No.
What?
So my mind obviously started to wander, and I picked up the phone and called Barry probably about 10 times or so, but he's working, so he can't answer the phone. It's like an emergency situation.
What were you thinking?
Well, that maybe there was a girl in my room. So I text him, what the fuck is this? Who the fuck's pants are these? And who the fuck were you with this weekend?
I do not pin you for a psycho like that.
Well, he obviously then immediately called me and called me a psycho. He said, Ashley, I deal with one woman. Who the hell would want to deal with two?
Right, you're enough.
And immediately hung up on me.
I mean, Ashley, you give it up so much. Like, why?
More than the rest of us. Who would leave you?
Why would you leave?
Well, for about an hour, I had to sit in my thoughts. And when my nanny got home, I came to the house. I brought the pants down to her and asked her, where'd these come from? How'd they end up in my drawer? And her immediate response, you guys, was she cleaned them because they were in Barry's office.
Ooh.
No.
And then told me, but in an Amazon box. You must have
Oh
ordered them.
my God. Ashley.
Ashley!
Did you apologize to Barry?
No.
What?
I just put something sexy on when he got home so we'd forget about it.
And you banged him.
It's better than saying sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's why who would ever cheat on you? Oh man, Ash, that's a great story. And I would never think you would go crazy like that.
Don't put some random pants in my drawer.
Oh man. Well, luckily we've got someone bold, brilliant, and fabulous here today. Dr. Kate is here to help us get into it.
I mean, thank God, because Scott needs to win a Nobel Peace Prize.
Honey, I need
for
all the
you.
help I can get.
Somebody's got to get into something.
I gotta get into
I
something.
mean, what about Steph's husband? He thinks that every night needs to be an OnlyFans production.
Ladies, if these tits could talk, it would be a whole another show.
The whole conversation.
All right, let's bring her in.
Let's bring Dr. Kate in. Dr. Kate, welcome. We are so excited to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's be
We
real.
need you here.
So there's nothing off limits
For us.
for us. Nothing.
Bring it.
Because the husbands low-key love when we talk about it. So let's get into it.
Okay.
I'm going to start.
Okay.
Let's talk about initiation.
Oh.
Okay. I feel like for us, or my husband and I, it's the hardest part of like to get going. I feel like we lay there like dead batteries, like waiting for something to spark. And I just like wish that like if we could just forgo that, like we'd have sex every day. But we like sit there and then, you know, I'm waiting, he's
Time
waiting,
runs out.
and then time runs out, and I'm sleeping. So what are your thoughts, like how to like get that like going?
Well, it's such a common thing. The more you know each other, the more you kind of blend into the scenery with one another. And I think initiation requires some energy, some effort, some creativity. And that's really hard when you're just doing life all the time. So I think it starts with maybe having a conversation about what does initiation mean to each of you, right? For some people, doing the initiation is really hot, but maybe they don't have the energy to get that giddy up. So you can work together to find some time in the day where they can like be a human and recharge a little bit. For some people, it's really hot to have someone else initiate, right? So maybe you and your husband could talk a little bit about what is exciting about the initiation, what's overwhelming about it, and then you can find some
I
solutions.
feel like it's like the vulnerability, right? Like having like one of us being vulnerable and like, I'm never going to turn you down. So like, just go
So
for
it's
it.
about the fear of rejection.
Right? Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's basically what it is. I just wish there was just like an easier.
Yeah, I would be curious where that fear comes from. You're saying you're never going to turn him down.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's that about?
I don't know.
I
Yeah,
think
go for
like
it.
in my relationship, the fear is probably on my husband's side because I come home from the end of the day and I am like you've discussed in prior episodes or prior podcasts you've done or in your book, I feel touched out. I feel I'm over it. I want some alone time. I don't want anyone to touch me. But at the same time, I get upset when my husband's not initiating.
Right.
And then he will say, well, you certainly don't seem like you want me to initiate. So the fear is on his end. He's afraid to approach me because I'm like, get away from me. I don't want anyone to touch me again. But then I get upset that he's not initiating. So it is kind of a cycle that I don't know what the answer is, because then the next morning he'll try to do something and I say, well, now you're just doing it because
I told you.
Yeah,
so he can't win and I feel bad for him.
But you know what I hear when you say that? I hear you want someone to take over the labor of it, because when you are a mom and you're the primary parent, like your kids are all over your body, they need you all the time, you're doing things, you're constantly in service of other people. So there is that like, don't touch me, but what you're really saying is don't need anything from me.
Yeah.
Can you give something to me? And I hear that in that desire of like, I don't want to be bothered, but I want to be like given to and restored and resourced. So come on, bring it.
Yeah,
Right.
100%. But it's almost unfair to him though, because he's like,
Oh,
I don't know how
whatever.
to do that. Whatever is true. You're absolutely
Whatever.
right. You do enough. You do enough. But yes.
I guess a question like with that is I hear so much about people talking about like scheduling sex. So it's like, I don't think that that's fun or natural, but then you hear these things like, well, maybe it would be a good thing because you're like, okay, I know I'm so busy. I have to go to dance and baseball and school and this and that, but I also have to do this. And so you like schedule the time for it. I don't know.
Like,
What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, it's a great question. I know whenever I talk about scheduling intimacy or time for intimacy, inevitably some people are like, ugh, that takes away all the fun. And I get that, right? But if you remember to when you were dating, that was time limited, you know, moments that you had with your partner, and you did schedule a date, and you knew there was a possibility that you were going to have sex that night or that day or whenever.
shave everywhere.
You did everything shaved.
Yes, yeah. You wore the matching set.
Gone
if
are
you
those
were
days.
open. So the thing,
Poor Kevin. Nothing matches.
so I would say don't schedule time for sex, but schedule time to be together and to have some kind of like embodied connective experience. And then if it organically happens, great, you still have that element of spontaneity, but you're really carving out time to like really be dedicated to whatever might unfold. And that's where the magic is. Plus, no one wants to feel like sex is an obligation. Do it if it feels
You
organic.
put pressure on him to do the dishes. And then as a reward.
No, so hang on. I would never reward that. I would never use sex as a reward because it creates this transactional dynamic that really then like attaches a lot of labor to sex. And for all the men listening, because I know you're listening, you want to hear women talk about sex. You should just
Our
be
husbands
doing.
are all gonna listen.
Yeah, well, you should just be doing the fucking dishes because they need to get done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right?
There you go.
Amen.
And then we'll put on the black
sexy.
underwear because our thong will look
Exactly.
really hot when the kitchen's clean
Exactly.
to sit on the cabinets with.
Right. I mean, it's not your job to have that stuff done. So when partners show up with this really collaborative energy, panties start falling faster.
100%.
Jordan's panties
All
hasn't
right,
fallen.
Dr. Kate, my panties never fall. I am the black sheep of the group.
Oh no.
I used to love to bang. Like in my 20s, I was shebanging all day, every day.
I love that for you.
Okay? I lived my best life. I met my husband 10 years ago, 11
Okay.
years ago. And when I met him, I loved having sex with him too. We were doing it regularly. until we had kids. And I am honest with you now. I'm being completely honest. I love him, but if I never had sex again, I don't know that I give a shit. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And am I dead inside?
No, well, why does something have to be wrong with you? No. Look, there's a few things. If you want to be wanting more sex, then that's one conversation.
I would love to I'd love to want to have sex.
Yeah, okay.
For myself and for him.
Yeah, so then I think there's a few things to think about. I don't know how old you are, but
I am 40.
So maybe perimenopause is a
Yes,
factor.
and we're going to be exploring that on this show because I feel like it's coming into play.
I hear you.
And quicker than you thought.
Yeah, and look, it's a real downward spiral for desire for a lot of women.
Right.
Not for everyone, of course, but it can take a huge toll. But also, like when you've been together for a long time, there's something called the love-lust divide, right? The love-lust divide is this really lovely byproduct of long-term relationships where the lust kind of peters out after the first year and change because lust requires novelty. Yeah. And when you are in a long-term partnership, that requires safety. So we have these attachment drives and these lust drives that kind of are in competition with each other.
Right.
And the way that couples get around that requires a lot of effort, which, let's face it, a lot of people don't have time for that. But it's like a renewal of self, a renewal, like get new hobbies, do things together that are new and challenging, do things on your own that are new and challenging. And that kind of novelty can infuse some zhuzh that makes it interesting.
Like your tennis when you played together.
I know.
Yeah, Jordyn, stop yelling at him. After tennis, I have great sex. I don't know what's going on at your house.
When we win. Yeah, I do. I love those points, and I think like those absolutely help. I think there are moments. I guess my question is, of course, like if we're going out on a Saturday night, like I'm dead to the world after we get home. Like I don't want to be touched when we get home. There's oftentimes I'll do it before we go out just to make him happy. I will force myself to do it.
Okay, the word force really terrifies me for you.
God.
I don't love that for you. Here's why.
him.
I know you love him, and that's wonderful, right?
It's consensual.
It's consensual. So no, it brings up a really good point. Like there is a difference between consent and desire sometimes, right? Like you can say, hey, I really want you to have pleasure and I'm here for it, even if it's not my jam in this moment. And that's okay, right? We might think about that as maintenance sex. But if your body is like, ugh, and you're really like forcing yourself to do it, the thing that is probably going to happen is the chasm between his desire and your desire is going to increase because every time somebody has obligatory sex, what they're basically doing is telling their body what you want doesn't matter. And then the body's like, ugh, right? And so it really can decrease desire over time. So I would encourage you to think about more creative ways to bring yourself pleasure, whether it's with your partner or by yourself, so that your body has that trust built up with yourself again around like, yes, this is fun. I actually enjoy this.
Like toys.
Yeah,
What
like
are your
toys.
thoughts?
Oh my God, the more the better. Like whatever you'd like.
See?
Some people.
We gifted her a toy.
They did.
These are good friends. These are good friends.
She re-gifted
They're
it.
the best
to
friends.
another
They're in my
pudding
house. I re-gifted it though to another pudding pal.
Okay.
That's how I want to be different. I don't want to be like this at 40. So I am trying to figure out ways, and I'm going to get there. I'm going to explore all options. But hearing your point of view is really important to me.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to feel like your body's like not doing what you want it to do.
Yeah.
And I hear this a lot from women who are like, I want to have sex and something feels off. And it can come from lots of different sources, right? Sometimes there's a lack of novelty. Sometimes there's a lack of pleasure. Sometimes there's some sexual shame or body shame that's really kind of getting in the way of pleasure being present. Sometimes you're just exhausted because you have kids and a job and a this and a that, and it's just like, who has the time for sex, right? So there's so many things that could be playing a role in where you're at right now.
Well, this comes at a perfect time because you just released a book.
I did.
Called What Happened in My Sex Life?
I mean,
feel like
Jordyn, you
that's what
ask
says
myself it
day.
every morning. The question, if you could title your book, I wake up asking myself every day.
So congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Thank you.
But you talk about like being a caregiver and how that can affect desire. And I sometimes feel like that just like as a mom. Like I feel like, you know, I don't want to have sex. But how do you change that, like, you know, as that caregiver attitude, I guess?
like a simple recipe, but at the risk of sounding reductionistic, it really has to be a reevaluation of kind of everything that you, and if you have a partner, your partner do, to support each other, to have your own downtime, your own human time. Not in service of becoming a sexual being for your partner later, but in service of just reminding you that you are an individual before you are a parent, before you are a partner, before you are in service of all these other humans that you love and care about, right? Women are so conditioned to just put themselves last. And we all get kind of unconscious in our day-to-day goings on, right? So I know that a lot of partners don't mean to perpetuate that, but we can get stuck in these roles where it's like, oh, mom's got it, she'll take care of it. And then over time, that creates this calcification in the role and also an eradication of desire. So the more you and your partner can work together to change how you do things, how you run the house together, how you parent together, the more you can support each other having your own human life. Right? It really is important to like bring that essence back into you, because then once you're a human and you feel restored, well, now there's a lot more energy for sex.
Yeah.
Organically.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't pull from
you're
a
not just
dry
laying
well. No, what are the things that you think you struggle with the most in really accessing pleasure or cultivating pleasure for yourself, sexual or non-sexual? What's your relationship like with pleasure?
I feel like I'm open to pleasure, and the longer I've been with my husband, I think the more comfortable I've become getting like vulnerable with sex, like making weird faces, making weird sounds, doing weird things, asking for things. So part of being married to the same person has brought that to me, which is so wonderful.
It's amazing.
But on the flip side, part of being married for so long is also, you know, you're raising kids, and this person is also my like business partner in the business of raising these kids and the household, and that's not sexy.
No.
So, you know, and feeling touched out at the end of the day, and you know, expecting him to read my mind, do everything I want, but it's a fine line, you know. I think where we all are, moms being married, it's like I said, for me it's wonderful, but it's a two-sided coin. Like I feel more comfortable expressing myself sexually with my husband because I feel safe with him, I love him, but I also find the desire part doesn't feel as natural and is harder to come by.
I really appreciate you saying that. Over the pandemic, a lot of people started living and working from home, and they weren't doing that before. And we really saw a massive drop-off in desire and sex for long-term couples because you're so close.
Well, they say familiarity breeds contempt.
Yes.
It's very true.
And familiarity starts to feel like family, especially when you live in the same space and you're raising kids. And look, Mama Nature's really smart. She doesn't want us to have sex with our family because that's genetically, genetically not the best outcome. So there's a reason that we start to lose desire the more familiar we get, because it's familial. And so this is where like having the psychological space as well as the proximal space to be separate humans can go a long way in reminding your brain and your genitals that you are in fact sexy and different enough that sex is viable and interesting and exciting.
Come on, genitals.
Wake up! That's for hormones. Give yourself some hormones. You need a little extra testosterone.
I feel like when, you know, Kevin and I have a great sex life. We do have fun. Sometimes it's less than more.
Sure.
You know, there's certain things that I would want. He's like, I would never throw you against the wall like I would want, you know, but we compromise. But I feel like when we drink, we definitely
get there.
Lose our inhibitions.
Get there and feel less vulnerable. So I think that's when it gets fun. So maybe I just need to be drinking.
I mean, there's an over-under on that, right? Like, sure, alcohol can help with disinhibition, and if that works for you, more power to you. For some people, it can help with disinhibition, but it also can start to like numb out the pleasure.
And for men,
doesn't get it out. They can't get it up.
It can impact.
Too drunk, they can't get it up.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I love a late night drunk.
We know you do, Ash. We know you do, girl.
Ash, you have a morning, night, great day.
Morning, nerd night.
God bless you.
Out of the shower.
In the
Hey.
kitchen. In the car.
Whatever you gotta do.
You go, girl.
I feel like it's more like when we were dating and there was no kid. I think,
Kids.
we would go to a club, we would go to a bar, to a restaurant, we'd be drinking. I remember one night we've been dating for so long, we got into a taxi cab, not an Uber.
You just aged yourself.
Yeah, and we were like, let's go to Vegas and get married and like hook up the whole way there. And now it's like, now we're like,
Well, that would
the babysitter, make sure the kids are asleep,
Yeah.
pay the babysitter, close all the lights, put the alarm on, and it's like, okay, well now it's just time for bed. Like, so it's like that
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
You kind of lose that, I feel like.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, what you miss, and it's hard now still with young kids, but the date nights and all of that helps, but trying to like find like the energy and the spark of the spontaneity, I guess, is harder now, I feel like.
It can be, yeah. It can be really tough, but also kind of introducing like different ways of working together to make that happen. Like
Yeah.
I work with some couples who have the luxury of having a family assistant, right? And so they don't necessarily share the details of what's happening, but they'll say, make the plans, get the sitter, do the stuff, do all of that. So that can be like a way to outsource.
I'll do that for you, Jordyn.
Yeah, maybe you do it for each other, right?
Puddings, that's why.
Yeah.
You gotta find yourself some puddings.
Yeah.
They'll do anything to better your life. Is there a way I can teach my body, like reteach it to want to have sex again, to have the desire?
I think so, yeah. Look, hormones are hormones, and if there is a hormonal imbalance for any reason, but especially perimenopause, it is helpful to see if you're a candidate for any treatments that can help pharmacologically. But it doesn't mean that we're just like sexually dead inside when we start entering perimenopause. It can feel that way sometimes, right? It can feel really disconnecting. But the thing is that sex and desire are kind of like a muscle, right? And just like you wouldn't run a marathon tomorrow if you weren't already running, you would train. You would maybe run a mile for a week and then maybe 5 miles for a month or something like that. Desire works the same way, right? We can condition ourselves to stimulate the brain. We can condition ourselves to experience pleasure sexually and non-sexually. We can practice pleasure in little moments throughout the day, and that can start to wake the body up and recondition and recenter pleasure as a priority. It's part of what I talk about in my book, is getting more embodied and getting more intentional with finding moments for pleasure and for sensory awareness in your skin. Because look, when we're all busy, we live up here, right? Yeah. And that's like sex dies up here. Yeah. Even though the brain is the biggest sex organ, it is really hard to get horny if you're just up here. So bringing your sensory awareness back into the body, focusing on smells that you like, tastes that you like, touch that you like, sounds that are exciting to you. Have you guys ever listened to audio erotica, sidebar?
No.
No, what's that?
No.
Well, Danielle and I will read.
I read erotica books.
Yeah.
And
We've
then
never
I want to
listened
be
to
like,
it.
Kevin, come outside.
Yeah, exactly, right? So
Outside your office.
a lot of women like audio erotica because the stories are told to them, but also they're narrated with character voices, which can be really hot. And I've been doing a little bit of preliminary research, talking to clients that we work with, and what I'm hearing is that a lot of women are loving the sound of men groaning. This was like a whole trend on TikTok a while ago. So like experimenting with like what sounds turn me on can be really an exciting foray back into like getting your brain and your body back in a rhythm of like things are cool. Yes, I want this. Because when you feel disconnected from desire for a long time, it starts to feel like an old friend that maybe you've lost touch with.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we're going to pull up and Jordyn's going to be having like
Yeah.
groaning in
You're
her
like,
car.
who's in that
We have a Bluetooth and car line.
When's the last time you sent like a sexy text to your husband?
Oh, you know.
Because I'll do that sometimes.
2005?
And I
Let me
think
look at it. No, 2006, the year we got married.
Yeah.
Jordan, send him a text so that he's
That would be a
excited to
prank
come
to
home.
him.
I have
He'd be
a
like,
whole
who's got my
library.
wife's phone?
I have a whole library of like sexy pics that I'll take and it makes me feel sexy, and then I'll send it to him, and then So that helps a little
Yeah.
bit.
All right, I'll give it a whirl.
Take a sexy pic, Jordyn.
I'll give it all a
You're
whirl.
hotter than
Dr.
everybody.
Kate.
You can
What
do it.
used to turn you on?
Dick.
What about dick?
What?
Which dick?
Rich
The ones behind you.
What about
Athletic dicks.
what does that mean to you? That sounds like it's the person that's attached to the dick.
It is. Men
Yeah.
just turn me on. I was very
But
turned
what
on by
about
all
them?
types of men. I really, honestly,
Yeah.
their the physicality
Okay.
of men in general
Okay.
has turned me on as long as I started.
I mean,
Having
Scott's like
sex.
tall
Yeah,
and
Scott was
athlete.
like very like.
He was an athlete in
Yeah.
college. Yeah.
Okay.
I do it. This has nothing to do with him. Zero to do
course,
with him.
yeah.
It's all about me. But what turns me on? I have always been turned on by men. Like. Always.
I noticed like your posture changed, right, when you started talking about it. Like something got a little bit electric
I've
there.
just always been the moment I lost my virginity on prom night to the basketball coach, and I've been turned on by men.
She did say coach.
I heard
Consensual.
that.
I was young. But, I've been turned on by men.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, never younger men.
Never younger men.
Never
Okay.
younger men.
All right. So there's something about like the physicality that, and you're like, seriously, your posture like totally changed. Something came alive and you're just a little bit thinking about that.
Hide your husbands.
But like this is what I invite you to explore,
Okay.
right? Like maybe find some images, some videos, like go back down that rabbit hole and like let yourself get curious about what's there,
excited
and
about
then
this for you.
see what happens. Yeah.
I'll just do that.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous for Scott.
Send us pictures of the men.
You guys are coming with me down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I gotta have my pals on my journey.
We'll be there. Don't worry.
Dr. Kate, thank you so much for being here today and all your insight. I mean, this was incredible.
It was really fun.
It was
Thank
so
you.
fun. But can we play a game before
Yes. Oh my
we
God.
go?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
In the name of pleasure.
The game is called Dare to Dip or Spill the Pudding. We're gonna answer like never have I ever questions this week, and put your finger down if you've done it. And the first person with the 5 fingers down has to either pick from the spill the pudding pile, which is a truth, or dare to dip. All right.
Never have I ever had a one-night stand.
Oops.
Sorry.
Never have I ever had sex in a car.
Ooh.
Never have I ever had a hookup I regretted.
Definitely. Who could not?
Never have I ever had sex outside.
Oh God.
Never have I ever kissed someone of the same sex.
Not me.
Never have I ever skinny dipped.
You're done. Rock, paper, scissors.
All right, Heather, we'll have you do the.
Dare to dip or who want to spill the pudding?
I'll spill the pudding.
spill the pudding?
Okay.
Yep.
Spill the pudding. Keeping it real.
What's the funniest text you accidentally sent to the wrong group chat?
Oh, I know exactly what it is. Oh, it was some mom drama at school that was getting too close to my family personally, and I got a text from this mom, and instead of texting, I wanted to text one of our pals, and I thought I was texting a pal, and I said, oh my gosh, can you believe this mom? I can't believe she's saying X, Y, and Z. This is unhinged. I'm worried about her and her kids. I don't want to be a part of this.
Oh, shit.
And then I sent it to that
mom.
And that was awful. That was
Okay.
pretty awful. But by the way, that mom texted me back immediately, said, actually, you're right. Thank you for this.
Wow.
Believe it or not, I think it actually helped her, and it helped me make sure I never.
Were you
I had to-
panicking when you
Oh, I
sent it?
panicked.
Of course.
I'm panicking right now. I'm
Heart
living
racing.
it. My heart's beating fast just thinking about it. It
Oh
was so
my
upsetting.
God.
It was so funny.
That's so funny. Well, thank you so much for playing with us.
you.
What's your Instagram or how can people follow you?
Yeah, my website's probably the best
Okay,
place,
yeah.
modernintimacy.com, or I'm on Threads, TikTok, and Instagram at Dr. Kate Balestrieri.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so
Dr.
much.
Kate, thank you
Cheers,
so
guys.
much.
So fun.
So nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you, too.
Cheers.
I'm sharing. Cheers.
Cheers.
We'll see you next week.